Your will isn't the last word. This is a recent email I received from Stephanie Scarborough from the Scarborough Law Firm here locally in Georgia. And you may remember I did an interview with Stephanie on the podcast. So Stephanie Scarborough at the Scarborough Law Firm, and she sent this email out to her subscribers. And you should probably subscribe to her list too. Just going to Scarborough Law. Let's see what the website here is. ScarboroughLaw.com. All right, so let's read this because this is pretty important. She says, "Hi, Josh." She wrote it specifically to me. Like when I send out my emails, I write them specifically to you. I sit there and type and say, "What would Josh want to hear?" Hey, bud. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm banging here, and old Pops does not like that. It's okay. All right, so hear me out. I'm going to admit that most lawyers get it wrong here, and I used to be one of them, says Stephanie. I used to do exactly what I'd absolutely cringe at doing now. It's really amazing how much my clients have taught me. They made me ponder every estate planning scenario imaginable. I've had a chance to help them go on vacation without worrying or sleep better at night and go into childbirth or surgery with peace of mind. So here's what you need to know. Your beneficiary designations override your will. Did you know that, Pablo? Your beneficiary designations take precedence. I realize beneficiary designations is not the most popular topic you can read about, but I'm willing to bet you already have beneficiary designations whether you know it or not. And it's your children or your loved one who will either be greatly benefited or greatly damaged by your beneficiary designations. You have beneficiary designations already if you own anything like a retirement accounts, life insurance, or annuities. How do I know this? Because when you set up your life insurance policy or retirement account, the application you filled out required that you name your beneficiaries. And if you've done your last will, or if you plan to, the reality is that your beneficiary designations override your will. Man, I cannot stress this enough. It's actually kind of interesting because for us who are in the business for a long time, this seems almost so trite. Is that the right word? Just elementary, infantile, to be perfectly honest with you, that we sometimes, the financial planners, we sometimes overlook it. But this is critical. And this is why I want to bring this back out to read Stephanie's article here, because we shouldn't be doing that. Beneficiary designations, while inherently obvious to us in the business, override your will. It doesn't override your will. It doesn't say whatever your will says, screw that. The beneficiary designations are going to exploit, are going to make that, just going to say we're going to demolish that. It just says at the end of the day, if you have an asset in an IRA and you say you want to name your beneficiary designation of Pablo, and your will says in your that you want to name your at your death you want your money to go to Charlotte. Well, guess what? The will doesn't recognize your IRA. It doesn't. The beneficiary designation makes the money go directly to Pablo, regardless of what your will says. And for us in the financial planning industry, we always, it's just, again, it's easy to overlook that, and yet it's bad estate planning. So that's why I want to bring this to you, because as infantile, elementary as it might well seem, you got to have your beneficiary designations matching your desires without question, because your will is silent on that case. All right, so this means if you named a minor child as a beneficiary of your life insurance policy or retirement account, those funds will be paid to your minor child directly. But only once a probate judge, a stranger, decides who handles their money until your child is the age of majority. A judge can choose anyone they want, not just someone you're related to or who you trust. This happens regardless of what your will says, because your beneficiary designations override your will. In other words, your will may say that assets left to your minor children are managed by your adult sibling until your children reach age 25. However, when a minor child is named directly as a beneficiary, your will does not apply to the asset. A judge does not have to choose your adult sibling, and your child gets everything at 18 instead of 25. Sounds crazy, right? Hello, heartache, uncertainty, and fees. I once helped a mom with 2 young children in a case where her ex-husband, the child's father, left everything to his 2 children, but it was all left to them directly through beneficiary designations. And while this may sound crazy, the law says the surviving mom is not automatically the one in charge. She had to go to court, make her case about why she was responsible enough for the job, and then wait for the judge to decide. And she had to do this in 2 separate court proceedings, because there's a separate court proceeding for each child. Now that she has been appointed, she has to check in with the court every single year until each child turns 18, so the court can watch over her shoulder and see that she's basically not stealing the money. If her ex-husband had known this beneficiary designation would override his will, maybe he would have made it a lot easier on his children by planning ahead. It's really a sad situation that could have been avoided, and this doesn't just happen with minor children. Something unintended can happen to adult children and any other beneficiaries as well. Another case, we helped 2 adult children when their mom had set up her will, not drafted by Stephanie, go to 50-50 to her children. But for her daughter, she set up a special needs trust in her will, meaning that her daughter wouldn't be personally in charge of her own money due to a disability. Her mom thought that the special needs trust in her will would take care of the daughter. And she was right, it would have, except that the mom didn't realize that every single asset she owned already named her 2 children as 50-50 beneficiaries. And this trumped her will. Literally, not one single asset the mom owned went into the special needs trust because her beneficiary designations trumped the will. And instead, her daughter received all of her outright money without the special needs protection, which is what mom did not want to happen. And that brings me back to my first point, that I used to be one of those lawyers who didn't discuss beneficiary designations with my estate planning clients. I would simply draft a will because someone asked me to. They had always heard, I need a will, so they got one. I didn't have enough expertise or experience to ask about that beneficiary designations. Today, I would never skip that part of my clients. If I were to draft a will or trust that contains well thought out provisions for who is in charge of money left to your children, but I skipped over your beneficiary designations, your estate plan would not be worth a single dime. Whether you paid me $200 or $20,000 for your estate plan, it would not be worth anything. Your minor heirs would have money paid to them directly, forcing their children to court proceeding that your estate plan was supposed to avoid. Or your adult heirs would receive assets outright and completely expose them to ex-spouses and creditors. Sometimes when my clients come in, they still have their parents, siblings, or even exes named as beneficiaries, even though they're now married and have children. After you pass away, there's absolutely nothing that can be done to change who receives your life insurance or retirement accounts if you haven't updated your beneficiary designations. So last year I did a video on that with these multiple court cases. I'll put a link to the show notes on that. It's nuts. It's the same. All right, so here's what you can do. Review your current beneficiary designations ASAP. Absolutely. If you don't have a copy of them, request it to get one, so I need a copy. If anyone is named as beneficiary, you wouldn't want to be the recipient of the asset. You need to update that beneficiary designation immediately. If you have anyone or anything you care about and want to protect, you can call Stephanie to get to talk to him about that. I would add to this too. Not only with the beneficiary designation is incorrect, but if you also leave it to your estate, that's bad because that just means it has to go through probate. I see this a lot with sales guys in the bank and life insurance and stuff like that with annuities who are just trying to get the sale. And they say, okay, as long as I get the sale, and they say, well, I'm not sure I want to leave this to you, so I just leave you estate and we'll come back and fix it. I've seen that a million times, and hardly ever does it come back and fixed. So they got the sale, they got the annuity contract, and they say, we'll update the beneficiary designation later on. It just always gets neglected. Do not leave your beneficiary to an estate, to your estate. That's problematic for sure. Some people leave it to their revocable living trust. I frankly have an issue with that, but I'll leave that up to you and your attorney to discuss. That can be a problem. It might not be, but you just need to get legal counsel before you make that decision as well. All right, I'll put a link to Stephanie's stuff. I'll put a link to the other video I did on this when it comes to the nightmare that can be not updating your beneficiary designations. Comment, and we'll see you guys next time.